A severe famine has struck Canaan. To survive, 10 brothers make a desperate trek across the desert to Egypt. They walk into the massive, imposing court of an Egyptian governor, completely vulnerable and begging to buy grain. The powerful official they are bowing to is Joseph, the very same brother they betrayed and sold into slavery 22 years earlier. Because he's dressed as an Egyptian nobleman and speaking through an interpreter, they have no idea who he is, but he recognizes them instantly. If this were a typical story, you would expect one of two things to happen right now: an immediate, tearful family reunion or a swift act of fiery revenge. Joseph takes a completely different path. He speaks to them harshly, interrogates them, and suddenly accuses them of being foreign spies sent to scout the exposed parts of the land. Joseph avoids petty revenge. Instead, he initiates a carefully calculated psychological stress test. Before he can safely reveal his true identity, he has to find out if these are the same men who were perfectly willing to murder their own flesh and blood. He has to hold up a mirror to their past. Joseph backs up his accusation of espionage with immediate force. He takes all 10 of his brothers and locks them inside an Egyptian prison, leaving them to sit in the dark for 3 full days. This flowchart illustrates the exact narrative symmetry Joseph is building. On the left, we have a young Joseph stripped of his power, thrown into a dry pit by his brothers. And here on the right, decades later, those same brothers find themselves completely helpless, trapped at the bottom of an Egyptian holding cell. The punishment is a deliberate mirror of their original crime. Staying with this diagram, we can map out Joseph's specific terms for their release. He pulls one brother, Simeon, and keeps him bound in prison. The other 9 are allowed to travel backward, returning home to Canaan with a strict ultimatum. They must bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, back to Egypt. By forcing them to travel back to their father, missing exactly one brother, Joseph is recreating the precise trauma they inflicted on their family 22 years ago. He is engineering a scenario where they have to make the exact same choice: protect their brother or abandon him. Under the immense pressure of this test, the brothers finally crack. Standing right in front of the Egyptian governor, they argue openly among themselves in Hebrew, assuming he relies entirely on his interpreter and cannot understand them. They explicitly link their current terror to the sins of their past. They confess out loud that this distress has come upon them because they ignored Joseph's desperate pleas for mercy when they threw him into the pit. Listening to this, Joseph has to turn away from them to weep in secret. His tears prove that his harshness is an act. He isn't trying to destroy his brothers. He is trying to wake them up, and the test is actively working. The test delivers one final shock on the road home to Canaan. When the brothers open their sacks of grain to feed their donkeys, they find that the exact silver they used to pay for the food has been mysteriously placed back inside their backs. Finding free money should be a moment of relief. Instead, it brings them absolute terror. Their hearts sink, they tremble, and they ask each other, "What has God done to us?" The silver acts as a final mirror. 22 years ago, they sold their brother for pieces of silver. Now, unexpected silver threatens to trap them in a crime they didn't commit. Their consciences are fully awake, and they realize they can no longer outrun divine accountability. When the brothers first arrived in Egypt, they were hiding a dark, decades-old secret. By the time they leave, that facade is completely gone. They are burdened by an active conscience and an overwhelming sense of impending judgment. This psychological breakdown serves a precise purpose in the broader biblical narrative. It shows God's sovereignty working quietly behind the scenes of human action, using a harsh environment to break through decades of denial. Joseph's elaborate deception operated as a form of necessary surgery. To achieve genuine reconciliation with the people who sold him into slavery, he needed absolute proof of their repentance. He had to see if they would step up to protect Benjamin, or if they would sacrifice another brother to save themselves. True forgiveness doesn't mean sweeping past wrongs under the rug and pretending they never happened. To repair a deeply broken relationship, all parties involved have to be willing to endure the uncomfortable process of looking into the mirror of their own past actions.